Hello and welcome to the City Podcast. So today we're going to be taking a little bit of a look at a true crime case from a way back in the day.
Right.
So this in particular case took place on the 24th of December 1945. So I say, before we get into the details, I say we just get set the scene a little bit. So picture you're a father and you're putting your children to sleep at night for Christmas the next morning. It is Christmas Eve. This is when this guy's story starts. I think the man had, was it 7 children? We'll get more in the cat notes. I think it was like 7 children. He put them all upstairs. There was a few downstairs. They're having a very like nice, pleasant night. And then bang, he hears a very loud noise that wakes him up. There's a fire downstairs after that. A little bit mysterious. A bunch of things happened. Eventually, he couldn't get up the stairs because the flames were blocking the road. He went outside. He tried to start up his truck, but the wires had been cut. He then tried to grab a ladder to like prop it against the building, climb up, get on the second floor. The ladder was gone. He then obviously he tried to get like a water barrel. It was all like frozen over the water. It's like every possible thing that could have went wrong for him to go and like potentially save his children just didn't work. And now another thing is obviously I think this next part might be a little bit due to World War II. Obviously, resources were a little bit taken. How long do you think it took for the fire brigade to get there?
I'm just going
to double check my notes just so I'm definitely 100% correct with what I say, but take a little bit of a guess.
I want to guess about an hour and a half.
I'm pretty sure it was like the next morning.
So they took...
Yep, they took over a day. Here it is. Okay, so 10 a.m. was when... So the fire happened at like, let's just say, it was Christmas at probably like 11, 10, 12-ish. And the fire brigade didn't get until 10 a.m. the next morning. The reason for this was because the fire chief, F.J. Morris, a man who we're going to talk about a lot on this podcast, he was actually unable to drive the truck. He was the fire chief, but he apparently couldn't drive the truck.
So did he not have a license to drive?
I'll be honest,
or...
I've done my research into it. There doesn't seem to be an explanation. It just says that he could drive it. So I don't know how he managed to get fire chief.
I was going to say, how do you get fire chief if you can't drive the truck? Surely that should be your job as fire chief to get to the location.
Another interesting detail is that the phone lines were cut.
That's
pretty suspicious. So we've gone over all that, and eventually, obviously, when the police got there, not the police and the fire brigade and all that, the next day, building completely down, and you think if there was like, I think it was 7 children that went missing, but I could be wrong. But let's say like multiple people passed out, you're going to find remains. Nothing.
Nothing.
There was not a single bone fragment. There was not, and I'm not a medical expert, but I think even when you cremate someone, they're not fully gone.
No, there's bone fragments
the
and
next
things
moment, like fully evaporated from the face of the earth.
Nah.
So, what do you think that implies?
That they went missing?
Yeah, that the children could have been taken. Now, you're probably thinking, who would do that? Is there a reason? Could there be a reason? And surprisingly, yes. So the father was a man called George Sodder, and he was born in 1895, and he moved to America when he was 13. Now, the main reason he moved to America, I believe, was partly due to their rise in fascism. As when did fascism become big in Italy? Maybe like, it was from Italy. Oh, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
Maybe like 1910s, 20s.
Yeah, around about that time.
Up, then obviously Mussolini got in and all that, he kind of got power.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously I think, controversial take, folks, I'm not a big fan of fascism. And I don't think, it was George Sodder. So I think he obviously reasonably immigrated to America, and he was a bit of a vocal... He was a member of the community who was very vocal about his disdain for Mussolini and Adolf Hitler and how bad fascism is. And there was a lot of people in America, a lot of obviously Italian Americans who disagreed with that.
Yep.
And in fact, it did like Mussolini. And one of these men just happened to be an insurance salesman. Funnily enough, about a week before the Sodder family fire, he went there and he spoke to the dads. And he said, you have to take out your insurance. The dad was like, we're okay, the house has just got its wiring redone, everything's safe, we're happy with our insurance we have. He was like, if you do not sign this, your house will burn and your children will die.
Right, well that's
at the time,
not ominous at all.
At the time, that could just be a really weird, like, warning, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you have to buy this, like, you know, insurance, or the worst can happen. It sounds like it could just be, like, dramatic, bad advertising. But then what happened a week later? And then it also later came out that same salesman was on the jury that decided the fire was accidental, along with F.J. Morris and another man who happened to own the house, who would also have financially benefited from the house burning down. So obviously, if they're going to commit a crime, they may want to target someone who's going against Mussolini to maybe get him to shop a little bit and stop running his mouth about what they think is good. And the kidnapping could have been retaliation. Now, you're probably thinking, if it did kidnap him, what could that goal have been? Could it have been ransom? Could they just have taken him away? A lot of the evidence points out that it could have been a ransom, but basically the family were too vocal about it and there was too much media attention, which could have maybe given whoever took them a little bit of a fright.
Were they a rich family though?
Who, the Sodders?
Yeah.
I think they were decently well off for their time, but I don't think they were like
because if you're going to ask for ransom, you'd want to target like a
that's true.
family with quite a bit of money, surely.
I'm guessing if they had like 7 kids in that big house, they're probably it was the 1840s to be fair. I think houses were a lot more affordable back then, so but
must have been nice.
It did seem like a pretty nice property from the photos that exist before it burnt down. So I say we go after the aftermath now. So we spoke about a little bit what happened. So by 10 a.m, Morris had told the Sodders that they had not found any bones, as they might have if they might have been expected that the children were in the house and the burnt, because obviously the children weren't there. So sadly, they were more likely in the house. Nevertheless, Morris, the fire chief, believed that the 5 children, I think it was 7, but 2 of them got out, 5 of them sadly died or went missing. So the fire chief basically said that he believes that the 5 children were unaccounted for and died in the fire, suggesting it had been enough heat to completely cremate their bodies, fully evaporating them. The local coroner conveyed an inquest the next day, which held that the fire was an accident caused by faulty wiring. Among the jurors was the man who threatened George at the house, obviously saying it would be burned down. And the death certificates for the children were issued on the 30th of December, only about 5 days later.
That's very
despite
quick.
the fact there was no bodies, no bone fragments, no evidence, nothing. Evidence would emerge indicating that the fire had not been started by an electrical fault, and that it was instead deliberately set, as a driver of a bus that went by the house at the time said that he saw balls of fire hitting the house. A little bit dramatic. It is the 1940s. It was probably a Molotov cocktail. They probably just didn't know what that was. So I don't know what else a ball of fire would be. So obviously that's a little bit of a concerning claim. And Sylvia found a small hard rubber ball-like object in the bush. Sylvia was George's wife, so the mother of the children. She found like a little hard rubber thing. It looked like a bit of a grenade. Who knows? I don't think it would have been, because surely if it was, they would have kept it and showed it to the police. But then again, if it was
there would have been shrapnel fragments, surely.
Yeah, true. But then again, if the police were willing to lie about other things, they could be willing to lie about what they found.
Would grenades be so readily available if this was like World War II?
Yeah, I would think.
Kind of, because obviously they were needed for the armies. And
I mean, I'm guessing America didn't produce this grenades in America.
Probably not.
I'm going to guess they all produced in Britain and Europe and that.
Yeah, because we had a lot of the factories.
Yeah. We could be wrong about that, though. We're not fact check that on. So any historians out there listening to this podcast, maybe you could
feel free to fact check
and let us know. But I feel like I know if at Britain there was a lot of cases where people would bring stuff back illegally. There was smuggled guns or whatever. And it is the mafia. If the mafia really wanted something, they could probably get it in America, because this was 1940s. This was just after Capone went to prison and that, wasn't it? Oh, let me see. Was he the 30s?
Oh, he might be in the
30s. He was alive at this point, but he wasn't,
Yeah, he wasn't.
So the mafia was influential pretty much. But it says here that the thing looked like a pineapple bomb, which is the little grenades the Americans use. It looks like a pineapple, kinda. The family later claimed that, counter to the fire marshal's conclusion, the fire started on the roof and not in the lower floor where they thought it started, but they can't really prove that. Other witnesses claimed to see the Sodder children themselves. A little bit concerning. One woman who had been watching the fire from the road said that she had saw some of them peering out of a window of a passing car while the house was burning. And another woman at a rest stop between, to the Americans out there, I apologise for the pronunciation, Fayetteville and Charleston, that's a easy one to pronounce, said she had served them breakfast the next morning and noted that there was a car with a Florida license plate there. Obviously, this was in West Virginia, which is not too far, but something noteworthy. So this woman claimed that older Italian men came into the cafe with younger Italian children, and the children didn't say a single word. And whenever they did, the adults get angry
Right.
The person, it didn't seem like a kind of family dynamic, if that made any sense. And obviously, the children looked a lot like the children that went missing or died or whatever.
So it wasn't like this is a family who's been on the road for like a little while coming down to West Virginia who might just be tired and a bit agitated. Maybe the kids have been in the back like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? This is like completely like
something unsettling enough to the point where you remembered it.
Yeah.
So that news story, then it clicked in my head that could have been them. The family's efforts soon brought another report citing of the children after the fire. Ida Crutchfield, a woman who ran a Charleston hotel, claimed to have seen the children approximately a week after the fire. I don't remember the exact date she said, but the children had come in around midnight with 2 women and 2 men. All of them appeared to be of Italian descent. When she attempted to speak with the children, one of them looked at me in a hostile manner. He turned around and began talking rapidly in Italian. Immediately, the whole party stopped talking to me. She recalled that they left the hotel early the next morning. Investigators, however, did not take her story seriously. They thought it was incredible, and she'd only seen the children. She's not a photo of the children for the first time 2 years after the fire. When she was questioned about it years later.
Yeah.
So obviously her memory could be a wee bit fogged or what. Some more interesting things was like apparently one of the older brothers went upstairs and told the younger children, that the fire was going on and ran down the stairs, but then later said that he only yelled up and they never actually saw them, which would mean that he's lying about something. Or I guess if there's a very traumatic moment in your life, you could just get a bit confused. So I don't think he's lying maliciously, but he's getting some details mixed up.
Yeah, well, when trauma hits the brain, it does things to you. So that causes blanks in your memory. It can cause PTSD, obviously, anxiety, all that kind of stuff. So maybe he did mix up a couple of details because he went through something so traumatic.
Well, I think we should probably start speaking about individual people into the case. And I think the best person would be Morris, the fire chief.
Yep.
So I've got a little bit read about him here. So let's see. So, and I also going to the FBI, because the FBI are involved in this story a little bit. So Morris, the fire chief, had apparently confessed to a local minister. So the police chief basically confessed to a minister that he faked evidence in the case by getting a liver from a cow and pretending it was a child's heart. He then buried it on the property and allowed the family to find it, which apparently made them more suspicious, if anything.
Yeah.
But then obviously the mum was like, well, this isn't like what? So she ended up going, getting it tested, it was a liver. The mum also got obsessed with burning bones herself to see if they were, which is honestly pretty heartbreaking.
So she was just investigating herself, basically.
She just like what happened to her children.
Yeah.
It's just really sad, obviously. And I can't imagine, and the family also had a billboard up, by the way, with the children's faces on it, saying, have you seen them? That was there from like the 40s to like 2010. Then I think one of the youngest siblings sadly passed away, and then they stopped paying the fee for the billboards. Yeah. So they were holding out hope this entire time. And there's obviously more stuff we'll get into later on about what happened.
Yeah.
So obviously they were like, the fire chief, why did you try to fake evidence? And his response was that he just wanted the mum to find peace. And that's why he faked evidence. Bit of an odd claim.
Do you not think maybe he had a bit of a hero complex? Maybe just like he wanted to have the case solved and things so he could look like the hero fire chief, because obviously he couldn't drive the fire truck. His whole team was there late. Like all this stuff that went so wrong.
There was also a lot of bit of a stigma with people who, I think that's the right word, with people who didn't go to war. Who stayed back.
Yeah.
And I know he was obviously an emergency responder.
So he was essential.
But there was still that bit of like, why didn't you go and fight?
Yeah, you should be going.
Yeah. Like even with like police officers, that was a thing where like a lot of police officers left, went to war, came back, became police officers again, and they'd be like, why didn't you go?
Yeah.
You know? So maybe that could be a thing where
he wanted to make up for it.
Yeah. Get that kind of thing. But I also think he also knew the salesman, the insurance salesman, and
strange.
The owner of the house, because it was those three who were on the jury that decided that the fire was accidental.
How come they had such a small jury?
I think it was just such a small town.
So because it was just a small area, it's not like
rural America, West Virginia.
Yeah, I guess back then they didn't have what we have now, where it's like, you know, you can't, if it is a small area, you can't have like people from the area in, so you got to bring people from outside.
You're talking about bringing in other people.
Yeah, like
they tried to do
outside
that.
the area.
They tried to do that.
Really?
The FBI's a thing.
Yeah.
So George,
But I mean, as a jury, like,
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
But George also tried to interest the Federal Bureau of Investigations in investigating what he considered to be a kidnapping. The dad thought it was a kidnapping. He didn't
Yeah.
notify his children, but it is.
No.
It does seem like that. I
100%.
don't think he was far off. So he basically personally wrote a letter to the FBI director, J. Edgar Hoover, who personally responded to his letters. He said, although that he would like to be of service, the matter related appears to be of the local jurisdiction, and that the investigative bureau basically has to request permission from the local authorities
Yeah.
to step in, which he did, because Edgar Hoover thought this is a horrific case. The FBI can probably come and help out a little bit. They'll get involved in it. No,
No.
that's what the local said. They said no. The local law enforcement refused help from the FBI, which just adds to the suspicion. Why would
Yeah,
they not
that's-
want help from someone? Because they weren't solving the case. It's not as if they were making progress and somebody was able to come in and take all the credit for their. They were not
Yeah.
making progress. So why did they decline any help from the FBI?
Do you think they just didn't want to admit that they'd messed up so badly on this case?
Either that,
That, I
or-
mean, if the FBI has to come in and solve your case for you, it's a bad look.
I mean, I don't think it would be the most outlandish thing for a small town police station to also be corrupt.
No, yeah, of course, that's obviously it as
The
well.
salesman, there's no evidence of this, obviously. Bribery is a thing. Maybe they just liked the salesman. Maybe they were fascists themselves.
Yeah.
Because I think it was like a heavily Italian area where obviously there'd been a mix between immigrants who were pro-Mussolini and immigrants who were anti-Mussolini.
Yeah.
I think that's why, that's like obviously where the mafia came from. They all left Italy and all that, came over here, like. So the communities are split up a lot. And obviously, with something like fashion, it's such a horrible thing that went on in Europe in the 40s.
Yeah.
A lot of that tension definitely carried over into like those kind of communities. And I think that could have been one of the reasons why he was targeted by these people.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
so the family didn't give up the hope that they could potentially find their children. They printed up flyers of the children. There was a $5,000 reward that was soon doubled. That was, at this point, that was 1952. A lot of money.
Yeah,
would
definitely
have
a lot of
been-
money.
A lot more than $5,000 today.
Oh, yeah.
And it was 10 grand then if they doubled it. So if that was 10 grand, 1850, that'd be like about probably, a bit of that guess, maybe like 200-300 grand.
Yeah, probably
Be a
around
lot of money.
with all the inflation and things.
They also put up a billboards along Route 60, which I think is like the big famous one in America.
Route
and-
66.
Yeah, Route 66, yeah. And it became a landmark for traffic through the Fettiville area on Route 19 through Route 16. So if any Americans were out there, that's where it was. Now, the thing is, they were obviously hoping their children were still going to be alive.
Yeah.
So that stayed until one day they got a letter, a mysterious letter. Now, another thing is, they did investigate it even years later, as in 1967, George went to the Houston area to investigate a tip, as a woman had written to the family saying that Luis, one of the sons that had gone missing, had revealed his true identity after drinking one too night. Like, so apparently he met this woman at a bar,
Yeah.
and he drunk too much, and then he told her who he really was, and then that woman went and contacted the family and told the family, maybe in an attempt to get the rewards. It was a 10
Yeah.
grand reward. That's a lot of money. So basically after that, apparently she believed that him and Maurice, who was one of, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but she was one of the daughters, were both living in Texas somewhere. However, George and his son-in-law, Grover Praxton, were unable to speak with her, and police were basically not interested in speaking to them. And eventually, George hired a private detective to look into it. But then other stuff happened in between this. So the detective went out, couldn't really find anything, came
Yeah.
back. Eventually, so one of the youngest Sodder siblings who sadly died in 2021 was Sylvia. She was the one that kept paying for the billboard and all that. She said that this basically destroyed her dad because there was no hope for so long.
Yeah.
Then there's a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
Um,
But this guy who's drunk and all that, saying that he's this missing child. We've seen this happen in modern day. We've seen this happen
Madeleine
with
McCann, that was a
Madeleine
famous case.
Yeah, and they've just been to court and all that. Could that be another case of that? Maybe that.
it seems like a little bit of a weird time
Or
frame
is
to
it a
do it,
genuine
like
thing?
20 years later, 23 years later,
Yeah.
to a random woman in the bar.
It is very strange.
see if
Or
you're-
could that woman have been lying because,
Say
big
you're
reward
talking
money?
to like a woman or something and she's trying to flirt with you and she's like, I used to be this missing person. Like, what did he gain from telling that?
Yeah,
Unless it's like
that's
maybe he was
true.
like drunk and just wanted. Like, I don't know. There's a bit more that goes into it later on that you hear. There's accusations that maybe he got linked to the mafia.
Yeah.
And things like that. So maybe it was a cry for help. It could be anything. Like, and then
She could have been making it up
and
for
if he was
money.
living in Texas this entire time, why did he not go back to his family?
Ah, yeah, that's a good point.
But that's the mafia theory comes in. Apparently he get recruited by them, which is obviously a bloody horrible. And I don't find that accusation true because there's no proof for it.
No.
And it's a horrible accusation to make it. So imagine going missing and he was like, he's in the mafia. But that is an accusation that George himself investigated. The dad,
Right, yeah.
which might give it a little bit more credit. But then things get even weirder. Even weirder. One day they got a little bit of paper that said, Lewis Sodder, I love brother Frankie, LLIL boys A90132 or 35. And there was a picture of a young man who looked strikingly like Lewis when he was growing up. So this time, it's coming from the same area, it's got a name and everything, but there's also a photo attached.
Yeah.
And the parents think it looks like the son. Is that not a little bit more substantial than a drunk guy at a bar?
Oh, definitely.
And this is apparently the same guy.
Did they ever figure out what any of that meant though? Like
No,
the
not to my knowledge.
A90, like that's a really weird code
And the
type thing.
LLIL boys.
Did he maybe misspell little boys? Like maybe
Even if
to
it
be
was
like,
little boys, what would that? Unless it was like little boys and like I was a little boy.
yeah,
you
like
know?
I was a little boy, my brothers were little boys.
But basically, after that, the family basically hired another private detective to go to the city centre to look for him, like where the letter came from. But the weird thing is, they paid the detective. The detective took the money. He went, and he was never, ever, ever seen again. That detective became a missing person,
Oh god.
and it's still not been solved.
Right.
Whilst investigating,
So
that
this
leads-
isn't someone who's like, I am a private detective, not
No,
really a
this
private
is like-
detective and
this
took
is
money
like
and
a
ran.
professional private detective who got professionally hired to investigate this case.
Mm-hmm.
He took the money and just was never seen again.
That's right. So there's definitely some sort of outside influence affecting how this case is going down.
Yeah, so basically, the detective came back, never seen again. That obviously aroused suspicion in George. And sadly, I believe it was around the 1960s, maybe the early 70s, where George passed away. And he died not knowing what happened to his children,
That's heartbreaking.
which is awful, especially when so much hints were given that maybe they could still be out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just horrible. But I think there's one more person who I actually forgot to mention. The house owner. I mentioned him a little bit, but I haven't really spoken about him. So, Fienzo Gambel Giuliano, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. He was born on 22nd December 1889 in Italy, actually. And he was very successful, very well respected. He owned a lot of property. And he was a director of a bank. He owned a bank.
Wow.
Which George was the co-owner of a lease on his house or something like that. So you might get a little bit. I don't really. You've got. I'm guessing you know about mortgages and all that. I'm not too familiar on that. So I think the guy was like leasing them the house.
Yeah.
But the guy had like an insurance policy where if anything was to happen to the house, he would get
Yeah.
about $20,000.
So if you co-sign on a loan for someone, you're like, I think you're helping them pay it back. Is a bit like when you apply for SAS. And
So does that
you
mean he's got some
have-
ownership of
yeah.
the house?
It means he would have some
And
ownership.
would he have gotten the payout for the money and insurance? I think that's what this evidence is claiming. Like he would have got 20,000.
I think he would have got some insurance money.
Well, so basically, he basically owned the house, right? He was a manager of a jewellery company, and some reports that he threatened George. However, that can't really be proven, can it?
No.
But it seems like the general theory is that George was talking about fascism in a not very nice way, which is quite reasonable.
Yeah.
People got upset who supported Mussolini. They got together with the guy who owned the house and the fire chief, and they're like, how can we frame this guy? Can be like, I don't like, no, they just burned down his house and they just took his kids. But the thing I don't get, like, if they were trying to kidnap the kids, why did they burn down the house? Do you think that was just an attack and they meant for the kids to be taken and also burn down the house? But then after it was like so much place and news attention, there was like, this is just don't touch it anymore, just take the kids.
I personally think they meant to take the children and leave mum and dad in the house, burn alive type thing. Because then who would be there to report the missing children?
But they also anticipated that George was going to try to rescue them.
That's
they cut the
true,
phone
yeah.
lines, they cut his car brakes, they stole his ladder.
Maybe they were hoping, like, after all that, it would have, like, he would have ended up burning with the house or something.
Or maybe that was just such a big threat. It's like, we will burn down your house if you continue to speak bad about Mussolini, and we will kidnap your children again. But obviously, too much media attention, too much was going on, and that led
They had
to
to kind of back away.
him panicking, being like, oh no, we have to get to Florida. And after like cool down, they could have been sent up to Edinburgh to whatever. But I think the main theory is that obviously they all got together, they all kind of fixed it a wee bit, but like, we'll burn down the house, we'll make it look like an accident, whatever. That guy will get his 20,000 to own the house. The insurance salesman, he would have been someone who they could have like got to be in the jury, to be like, yes, this was an accidental file. The file chief to like not respond till the next morning, to like be as unincorporated as possible, to fake evidence. There's just so much suspicious things that.
Oh yeah, like it's not an easy open and shut case like so many are nowadays. Like, it's so easy. Well, not easy, because if it was easy, we'd have solved plenty of missing children cases by now. But it's easier to track down a missing person.
Things like cameras, like,
CCTV, phones, even being in the background of someone's selfie. Like, you don't ever have a private moment alone anymore, because you know someone's filming a TikTok, someone's vlogging, someone's watching a CCTV camera, and you're going by it or whatever. But back then, obviously, all the resources were going to the war, so they didn't have time to. Like, CCTV wasn't a thing.
That even led up to like the 70s and the 80s, like the milk cartons and all that.
Yeah, like we didn't have the milk cartons. Well, I mean, even in the UK, we don't have the
milk cartons didn't work, by the way. That's why it didn't work.
No, it never worked.
The only thing it did was terrify children.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, but they never had anything like that. So like, and the FBI was only. I think the FBI was still pretty young back then, because J. Edgar Hoover was still in it. So. They weren't, they didn't know anything about criminal profiling or that until way later on, after Edmund Kemper and things like that came about.
Because I think Edgar Hoover was like really good at his job. Like, I think
he was brilliant at his job. Don't get me wrong.
The FBI and the CIA and all that were like going after Castro in the 60s.
We just didn't have.
I don't think they were given the opportunity to use their resources, because they were not allowed to investigate it. They tried to, but they weren't allowed. They were prohibited from.
Although nowadays the FBI can come in and go, we're taking over this jurisdiction, and I think it's because of cases like that where police, like small town police, were like, no, you're not coming in here. Yeah. I think now it's kind of being like, well, we're the FBI, we're overriding this.
Well, it's just one of those cases where so much could have happened to prevent it.
Oh yeah.
Like let's say like the fire happened. Why was the fire brigade not there straight away?
Exactly.
It was the phone lines were cut. Why were the phone lines cut?
If the fire chief couldn't drive the truck, why didn't he go, okay, like, you come and drive the truck, we're going to this house?
I think they claimed they were understaffed, but like...
I mean, I could understand they might have been understaffed because, people were away to fight in the war and things like that.
There was no other fires in the town that day.
But if there was no other fires in the town...
But it's not as though it was a big city, it's a tiny American town.
Like,
in the 40s.
Yeah, I'm guessing the population was probably like, what, 300?
Not even that, probably.
Not even.
I mean, the only 3 people they could have got for the jury just happened to all be people who directly threatened George Sodder. So.
Exactly. Which obviously is
suspicious.
Yeah, obviously the jury are going to be like, nah, this didn't happen.
And the people from this story are like very well liked in that town still. I think the insurance salesman's got a park named after him, which I saw when researching, and not really relevant, just a bit weird. Like, a bit of a weird person thing a park after. That F.G. Morris was like a fire like hero and all that, even though he put a beef liver in the ground of a crime scene, then tried to convince a grieving mother that it was the remains of her child.
It's just so strange how they've been like made to, like, they've been put on a pedestal for nothing.
And like, I don't know, it just seems like such a messy case.
I'm guessing, like, if you go to where is it, Fayetteville or something, or Fayette County, like, you can't say like George Sodder in a good light or anything. Like,
I mean, they had the billboard, but
I'm guessing Route 60 is kind of just outside, like in between counties and things. So I'm guessing even if they wanted to put it up where they were probably shut down on it and told no, go put it somewhere else. So I mean, putting it on Route 60 was probably the best idea because it was probably a busy route and all that. I don't know much about Route 60. I know Route 66, but
it's also not like a big shocking claim that the mafia could kidnap children.
Oh yeah,
that's a thing that happened all the time. All the time they would kidnap children and send them to Italy to stay or whatever. But obviously that could have happened, but I don't think it, because like, they seemed like they went to Florida first.
Yeah,
and then obviously the photo came from Texas. which is, I mean, obviously that was like, what, 25 years later. It just seems like such a weird case.
It really is. It's such.
It seems like so much could have been prevented. If the FBI got involved, they would have solved it straight away. If the fire brigade had went there when the fire started, the phone lines weren't cut. Like the people that saw the kids in the restaurant, apparently, if they'd like phoned the police when that first happened, not waited 5 years to report it.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
I mean, sometimes I'm like, well, I understand if you think you're in danger and you can't report something right away, but this woman was in a safe-ish place.
There was no direct danger to her.
No, she could have snuck in the back. There was probably a phone in the back
Even
office.
if she did pick up the phone, but they would have ran away worst case. They wouldn't really bloody shoot her, would they, you know? It's like...
No. Unless they really wanted to get hunted.
I don't think the mafia are.
Things. No.
I don't think they'd be shooting random
They're
waitresses,
not as
to be
careless as the movies make them out to be, you know. Like there's
well,
there's plenty of ex-mafia members who are on YouTube now that actually talk about their experience in the mafia, and you know they're kind of like.
I seen one where it was that Michael guy, and he was arguing with him, and it was like, "You're a baloney, you're a baloney." That's what they kept saying to each other. It's like, you're a bloody mafia leader. You're like, you're an insult, like going about a piece of baloney. Is that even an insult? Yeah, but like obviously the mafia got up to a lot, and there was a lot of different divisions and all that.
I mean, what better time to start attacking people that you want to go after than right in the middle of a war, where everyone is so busy, everyone's worried about what's happening over in other countries where the war's happening and what's going to happen next. Who's who's going to go where?
Well, this would have been right after the war, but like months after.
Yeah.
Like I think Hiroshima when was that? That was 45, obviously, but I don't know which month it was. Like September, November, or something.
Yeah.
I think this was December.
It was quite. So it was at the end of the war. Yeah.
Like right months after it ended.
So it's still pretty, you know.
Like literally the Christmas of 1945.
So yeah, people were. Like
the war was done by that point.
Yeah.
But it was like just done.
Yeah.
Like
so people were still recovering.
Like a month
things.
or two, not even that.
Yeah.
So it is out, and then obviously like the fascists have just lost the war.
Yep.
They could have been angry about that.
They would have been a lot
Mussolini was
angrier.
just what happened to him. He was like captured. He was.
Yeah.
Fun fact: the place where they hung him and shot him and they desecrated his body, it's not McDonald's.
Oh my god.
Just a McDonald's.
Wow. What a way to like be disrespected in your death is to
Not even a plaque or anything.
to be turned into a McDonald's.
Yeah, so whenever I was doing my research, I did write a little bit of a personal statement, but I don't know if I agree with this. This is a lot while ago. So I'm going to read this and then we'll see if it still holds up to like what we think now. So there's also other real connections that I'm seeing on the model scale, like George worked for the guy that owned the house. There was a few other people in the jury, but it was like cousins of like the insurer and that.
Yeah, so it's too familial and
it turned out there was like an argument going on with like money with like inheritance, and for some reason if like it went wrong the government would have kept it. It was like a bunch of like weird stuff that was
there's
just like
some strange things
there
in
was just a
America
lot
about
of things for them
inheritance.
to like gain from that house burning down.
Yeah.
But my personal theory is that due to the comments on fascism, George Sodder was targeted by Rosa Long Jr. and Flenzo Giuliano, that was the insurance guy and the guy who owned the house.
Yep.
I think they planned to burn down the house, kidnap the children for ransom. The reason for burning down the house was the fact that the Giuliano owned the Sodder house, as George was still paying off his loan, then he would financially benefit from insurance if it burned down. And I think the ransom fell apart due to George being so vocal and the media attention, all that kind of stuff. And I think that explains why the cover-up was done so poorly. Like the cow's liver or whatever it was. Why the jury was clearly biased. They got their electricals done like a couple of years before, and then mysteriously it just didn't work. I think it is more likely the plans changed last minute. The kids were taken to either Italy or America, forced into adoption. Some evidence, like that letter, which could be total rubbish, claims that Louis Sodder could have been a mafia member, suggesting that he had potentially worked in the Kentucky Mafia or Texas Mafia, up that kind of part.
Yeah.
Because I think the Kentucky Mafia were like big.
Yeah.
But the only proof for that is the alleged photo and the letter, which isn't really enough proof, I would say,
And
to
it's not-
accuse a child of being a mafia member.
It doesn't make any sense, the letter.
It doesn't.
But it makes me think maybe it's some sort of code.
But how could he have a code with his parents if he was like 5 and mistaken?
But
What
maybe
personal thing could they know, you know?
Yeah, maybe it was just a code that he had learned through something Like, I don't know if anyone's ever actually tried to decipher it properly
I'm
or
going to guess they
anything.
have, but I don't think it's been successful.
Yeah, like if you go with the alphabet, it doesn't make sense because there's no zero in the alphabet, so it's
Yeah. It's just a tragic.
it really is.
tale.
It's horrible.
And like even we know how the story ended.
Yeah.
Sadly, the last sibling passed away, not knowing what happened to her siblings. Like
Yeah.
there's still a few family members alive today who still talk about it. Also, one of them actually did a podcast recently. Like one of the kids' like sons or whatever, I don't know. So the family are still trying to seek answers. Obviously the people that were there in the house are all sadly passed away now.
Yeah.
But the surviving people, they are,
Yeah,
kids
the
and all that.
ancestors and things.
They still want to find out what happens.
Yeah.
Because I know it was only like, what, 70 years ago, 78
Yeah.
years ago.
I mean, I would want to
Like-
find out.
Surely there's still hope that we can find out what happened, like a proper investigation.
Sure.
isn't
I
going to
mean,
happen.
we've solved old cases multiple times now. You know, cases are getting solved years and years after they've happened. So,
Sadly, this is just one, well, I don't think that's going to happen.
no.
But what do you think, of all the kind of things we've gone over, what do you think happened?
I definitely think it's got to be some insurance and ransom.
Do you think there's
They've
any
panicked.
possible way the children died in that fire?
I don't think so.
Uh,
Like, I know fire can get hot enough that bodies, but there would be bone
the
fragments.
thing is, even if the story was legit, it was a fire, why would the police chief not just be like, not the police chief, sorry, the fire chief not just be like, I'm really sorry, we can't find our remains?
yeah.
Why would they go out of his way to deliberately plant evidence?
Yeah, that is also, it's so weird that he just buried it because, like,
Exactly.
it wouldn't
The
be...
house was obviously demolished the next month. That's another thing. They waited, so you might have thought the police might have a look about.
Yeah.
They demolished the remains of the building the next morning after the
That's-
fire brigade.
nah,
so I think the
that's-
fire happened. They put the fire at 10, and then like about later on that night they demolished it fully.
Yeah, to me that just sounds like a very corrupt small town. Everyone too friendly with the people involved in it and not wanting to rat people out.
And it's like as if George Sodder was like, it's not as if it was like a controversial opinion that he had.
No.
The only thing he said was that fascism not very good,
No.
and that's why he was targeted by these people allegedly. I also think there was also accusations that the salesman was like a die-hard Mussolini loyalist,
Yeah, that would
which would check
maybe
out.
anger him a bit more.
Because why would he go to that house and threaten them of all people? It
Yeah,
has to have other reasons.
unless he was working for someone who
Either
wanted the
that,
threat.
and maybe he was just like, that guy is talking. I'm going to
Yeah,
I'm
like,
going to threaten
I'm
them.
really angry.
Then maybe like the other two people got involved and then it sadly became reality. But I think no matter what, we have to remember that these are real people.
Yep.
Real children.
Real families who were suffering through.
Can't even say that I hope they didn't die, because then what kind of life is that, being kidnapped? and
I
all that?
know.
No matter what, it's just a tragic, horrific thing that happens. And I think the saddest part is that George dedicated this entire life to looking for answers they didn't get any.
No.
And maybe the family never will.
No. I hope maybe one day that they will, but
That's
it's,
all we can hope for.
it's a difficult one to...
Anyways, I hope the listeners have found this all a bit interesting.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
lesser known case, I think.
As if you want to go do some more research, maybe you can help solve the case.
Yeah, go
you
down
never
the
know.
rabbit hole.
Although the internet's done that a few times, hasn't
Yeah.
it? But yeah, I think it's just sad way to leave it. I mean, it's a true crime podcast. I don't think the ending of this podcast was going to be a happy one anyway.
No.
Was it? So I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no.
Hope everyone's enjoyed listening. I've been Alan Dickinson, and this has been.
Leo Silver.
Thank you very, very much, and we'll see you in another episode.
Yeah.